Welcome back to Politics Tonight. Once again, President Bola Tinubu has ordered the Nigerian armed forces and security agencies to decisively confront terrorists, bandits, insurgents, and separatist agitators threatening the nation's unity and peace. The president described terrorism, insurgency, banditry, and separatist movements as grave existential threats, warning that they must no longer be seen as minor disturbances. The president pledged unwavering federal support for the military, promising sustained investments in modern weaponry, intelligence, and manpower to ensure Nigeria's sovereignty and security are protected. But the big question tonight is, from an operational standpoint, does the military currently have the capacity, personal intelligence, logistics to carry out this kind of wide-scale operation across multiple threat zones? Let's speak with Dr. Stephen Okwori, security consultant, strategist, fellow Nigerian Army Resource Center, for his perspective on this latest clear, concise directive by Mr. President. Good evening to you, Dr. Okwori. Thanks a lot for joining us on the program, and good to see you again, sir.
Yeah, good evening. I'm happy to be here again. Yeah.
Thank you. So this is another clear directive from Mr. President, and I wonder what your initial assessment of this latest directive to the military. He has said crush terrorists, bandits, and separatists. Does this directive mark a shift in counterterrorism strategy? Is it a continuation of past approaches? And how do you respond to concerns that similar past directives haven't significantly changed the security situation on the ground?
Yeah, when you asked the question, if previous directives have changed the narrative, I don't think it has changed the narrative, and that is why Mr. President keeps giving out such directive and such instructions to the heads of the military and the other security agencies that we have in Nigeria. Now, let me say, as president, it is a welcome development for him to keep giving such directives. But I want to believe that the military and the other security heads of security agencies already have that directive or instruction, right? Because as heads of security agencies and personnel in that same institution that are saddled with the responsibility of protecting Nigerians and protecting the territorial boundaries of Nigeria, they already have that clear directive or instruction, because the service chiefs went through a process at the National Assembly where they were cleared, you know, and they are saddled with the responsibility of heading the security agencies, right? So that going through the process of National Assembly, for me, has already given them the constitutional directive or instruction or mandate that this is what they are saddled with and this is their responsibility, right? So for Mr. President to keep giving out these directives or instruction, right? This is not the first time we are seeing these directives from Mr. President.
Absolutely, Dr. Okwori.
We saw where Mr. President, yes.
So if this directive
we saw where Mr. President even gave...
I wanted to say, if this directive has come in different forms, in different formats, in different nomenclatures, but we're still here as a nation struggling, what do you consider as the missing link in this fight against insecurity? And can this directive fill that gap?
Now, the military's workforce is about 230,000, and we're talking about issues bordering on insecurity that is confronting us today in this country. Mm-hmm. What can the manpower of 230,000 do? Right? There are some information that we have that Nigerians are not privileged to have. Let me see. Every retired military officer, a general, is entitled to 1 or 2 soldiers, either as orderly as drivers. So just imagine the number that we have, the personnel that we have in active service, about 230,000. And imagine the number of retired generals that we have out there that have retired, that these soldiers are there performing 1 or 2 personal responsibilities or duties for these generals. So by the time you look at the numbers of generals that we have out there that are retired, and you just imagine the numbers of soldiers that are there, either serving as drivers or orderlies, and look at the remaining number that we have, it means that we don't have a sizable number to work with, right? In this very meager number that we have, we are still embarking on ECOWAS peace mission. For instance, like a couple of months ago, 197 soldiers were deployed to the Gambia to go to embark on the peacekeeping mission, right? So there's a lot that we need to do in addressing this issue. It's not about issuing out these directives. When you issue these directives and the manpower is not on ground to be able to carry out these directives, we will not get the desired result, right?
All right.
So from Buhari's time, even before Buhari's time, they were getting these marching orders from presidents and all that. But I think it's time now that these marching orders or directives that we are getting, we should be backed with action. And the missing link, just the way you asked, the missing link is that, for me, from research and findings that I've carried out, I discovered that there's lack of intelligence, right, that will enable the military to succeed. That is one, lack of intelligence. And which agency of government do we have that is supposed to provide intelligence locally? Because most of these crimes that happen in Nigeria, they are local, you know, and to tackle this crime, we must definitely go local. I've said it times without number. The military are there. Who security organization or institution provides them with the local intelligence? We don't have anyone.
All right.
The DSS that is there, that is supposed to provide domestic intelligence. What the DSS does more now is VIP protection, right? So the government needs to think outside the box, you know, to see what to do, you know, to collaborate the effort of what the military are doing. The military are trying their best in these challenging circumstances that we are seeing or we have found ourselves. But I think that they need more collaboration, you know, to see how the military can be very effective and more efficient in discharging their duties. All
right, Dr. Okori, I mean, you just addressed the question I asked in my introduction, which is, you know, from an operational standpoint, does the military currently have the capacity, personnel, intelligence, logistics to carry out this kind of widespread or wide-scale operation across multiple threat zones? And you've said we do not have the military personnel. You've said there is lack of intelligence. But what about logistics? Yes.
You know, for instance, in the budget of 2025, the budget for defense and security is 4.91 trillion. I want to believe that what is contained in that budget should have what has to do with taking care of logistics, right? And trainings and ammunition, arms and all that. All that is contained in that budget. Now, my worry now here is that how well do we judiciously use these funds for the purpose that is meant for, right? That's the question that we should be asking, right? Because we cannot have such a huge amount contained in our budget. At the end of the day, we are still being confronted with these issues. Rather than seeing a drastic reduction in the rate of crime, at some instances or some cases, we are seeing escalation, right? So there's a lot that we need to do as a government, as a country, as even the three arms of government. We have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. What is the legislature do with regards to helping in addressing these issues of insecurity, right? Because I know that the legislature plays a role of appropriating these funds, right? At the end of the day, after appropriating these funds, do they carry out oversight functions to be able to ensure that what they have appropriated, the monies have been released and is used judicially for the purpose? That's one question, because for me, effective oversight function exposes corruption, exposes the inefficiencies and the ineffectiveness of some of these things. I get you,
Dr. Okori, right? So, because even apart from judicial spending of these monies, some of your colleagues have said, we've not even started spending. And if we're to get the desired results, we must spend more. But perhaps we'll come back to that, because I'd really like to get, okay, so that means you agree with them. But also the term crush has also been analyzed. Some of your colleagues say this signals a more aggressive, possibly kinetic military approach. But is that advisable given our current terrain and threats? I'm also wondering, could this hardline approach backfire, you know, by increasing civilian casualties or alienating local communities, especially in separatist-leaning areas? Now, you see, our military are well trained. That I can take it to the bank, right? Because if you look at the capability or the strength of the military within Africa, Nigeria is ranked third. We only have Egypt and Algeria ahead of us. It goes to show how we are when it has to do with carrying out military operations,
right? Now, the issue, the question or the problem now is that when we embark on military operations, how well do we carry out these military operations? Do we go ahead to publicize military operations? Because for me, when you are embarking on military operations, the operation is supposed to be clandestine, right? It's supposed to be covert. It's not for us to go to the media and begin to tell the Nigerian populace that you want to embark on such operations. Now, when you talk about collateral damage, these are damages that are preventable, you know, but sometimes they can happen. But when we carry out operations with accurate precision, right, using modern technology, we need to deploy modern technology when we embark on such operations, right, so that we'll be experiencing operational mishaps, like innocent Nigerians being killed, right? So we need to deploy modern technology. And we have heard the military times with our number said these things are not lacking, right? If they are not lacking, how well do we have our personnel trained to be able to carry out or operate these modern equipments or gadgets that we are talking about?
That's a big question. Please go ahead, Dr. Okori.
So beyond that, how well do we have them officers trained? I know that because just the way you introduced me, I'm a fellow of the Nigerian Army Resource Center. So, and the military, precisely the Army is my primary constituency. So I know the effort that they are making as an institution, you know, to see that these security issues are reduced to the drastic minimum.
So then, Dr. Okori, is it advisable to lump separatist agitations with terrorist or bandit threats? Shouldn't they be approached differently, perhaps with more political engagement? What exactly do you think? Now, you see, it's not about the agitation. Okay.
The agitation is one thing. The other, the way they behave, for instance, members of this separatist organization, for instance, IPOB, they have turned that agitation into something else. Some criminal elements have come into it, they have hijacked it, because we have seen situations where IPOB members or ESM members or whatever they call themselves have gone into crime. They kidnap, they do a whole lot. They have enforced a public holiday on a Monday, you know, and that if it's not enforced, in the event where citizens of the country that reside in the southeast, they want to go about their lawful businesses on a Monday, you will see that they are unable to do that. So Monday is now a public holiday. A non-state actor group or organization are now having some kind of powers within a state that has its own sovereign power or authority, are now imposing or bringing public holiday in a week that is supposed to be a working day.
All right.
Right. So in the event where these citizens in this southeast want to go about their lawful businesses, but because of fear, intimidation, for coming from these IPOB members, they are unable to do that.
All right.
Right? So IPOB members are now indulging in criminal activities, and that is why the previous government proscribed them as a terrorist organization.
All right. So, but the other angle,
because they carry out acts of terrorism, like kidnapping and all that. These are acts of terrorism.
All right, Dr. Okori. I want us to talk about protecting our forests and borders, because it's been a month since Mr. President approved the establishment of forest guards to protect Nigerian forests, many of which are occupied by terrorist groups. For now, we do not know how the Forest Guard Force would be integrated into Nigeria's broader security architecture. But for you, how can government ensure that this new layer of security does not lead to jurisdictional conflict with police or military forces?
Now, very fantastic question there. You know, crime is local, just the way I said, and to address crime, we must have to go local, right? Because if we don't go that way, we will not get the desired result. And that is why the military are not succeeding completely, because they are not getting that local intelligence that will make them very efficient in the discharge of their duties. Now, to address it, I have said it in one of your sister stations also, that we have a structure already on ground, the Nigerian Forest Security Service, that the 9th Assembly passed its bill establishing them. So there was this error also in their name. It used to be Nigerian Hunters and Forest Security Service. So they asked them that they should expunge that Hunters from their name. So they now went back came back with a new name in this current 10th Assembly. And they now call themselves Nigerian Forest Security Service, which this 10th Assembly, under the leadership of Senator Godswill Akpabio, also passed the bill establishing it. What that means is that the 9th Assembly and the 10th Assembly knows the importance of having Nigerian Forest Security Service come on board, right, to see how to help address these insecurity issues we are talking about. Now, their mandate is clear, is to provide security in our forested region. Of course, just the way you said, we have criminals in our forest. They have found our forest a safe haven. They use it as hideouts. They come out from there, carry out acts of criminality, kidnap, carry victims into this forest, and keep them there for as long as they want to keep them until ransom is paid, right? So, since these bad guys are using this forest as a place where they are carrying out these acts of criminality, that is why we have the Nigerian Forest Security Service.
But how does this compare to how does this compare to the calls for state police? Is this a step in that direction or a distraction from it? Now, let me just land on my thoughts here before I respond to that. Right. So now, the bill to establish this Nigerian Forest Security Service is before Mr. President. So rather than thinking of establishing a new forest guards, right? Why not adopt what we have on ground already? Because time is of essence. Because we are talking about Nigerians being killed on a daily basis. All right, so let's be clear, Dr. Okori. When you say we should adopt what we have on ground already, what exactly are you talking about? Yes. Now, this is a structure that's already on ground, right? Just the way we have the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, when it was a voluntary organization, before former President Olusegun Obasanjo came on board and adopted it, and they are saddled with the responsibility of providing security to critical national infrastructure. Right. If President Tinubu now adopts the Nigerian Forest Security Service, their mandate is to see how to comb, and they'll be combed our forest, and they'll be first responders, right? Because you see, these criminal elements, when they come to our rural communities, attack our people, right? Before we get response from the police, from the military and other, it takes 1 or 2 or 3 hours or more, right? But this personnel of the Nigerian Forest Security Service, they will be on ground to be able to confront these criminal elements when they come. So my advice to Mr. President is that rather than establishing or giving approval for the establishment of forest guards, let him look at the one before him and look at how to work around it and adopt it so that they can hit the ground running, because a lot of them are out there, personnel of this organization, trying to see how to get into the forest. But they need the mandate from Mr. President so that they can be armed. Dr. Because if they are not armed, they will be able to confront these issues. Yes. I mean, great point you've just made. But quickly, because of time, I want us to talk about state police. Do you think Nigeria's centralized police system has outlived its usefulness? In your view, also, what are the biggest shortcomings? Now, the idea of state police, for me, is a welcome development as well. Because as I'm sitting here in your studio, I am after solutions, because we cannot keep seeing these criminal elements having their way all the time. So if state police is also an idea or a way to address these insecurity issues, because the governors are calling for state police, and the traditional rulers, some traditionals, so it's going to be a local way of addressing these issues as well. But my shortcomings here is that how many states do we have that are viable enough to be able to fund state police, train state police personnel, the state governors say they are capable, Dr. Okori. The state governors say they are capable. But sadly, we're out of time. But I'm sure we'll continue this conversation some other time, Dr. Okori. Thank you so much. I mean, the president's directive to the military is clear. Crush terrorists, bandits, and separatists without hesitation. It's a strong message of zero tolerance to those threatening Nigeria's unity and peace. But what follows now is execution, just like you said, firm, coordinated, and sustained to restore safety and confidence across the country. Thank you so much, Dr. Okori. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. And thank you very much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But before we go, let's tell you that the views and reactions of our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News. Meanwhile, you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at 12:30 a.m. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News NG. I am Olajumoke Olatunji.